Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. I am so glad you're here because I am playing with the Seaside Memories collection today from Paper Rose Studio, and I absolutely love ocean themed papers and die cuts, so this was so up my alley. I'm just showing you here the difference between the 12 by 12 papers and the 6 by 6. So that image on the left is 4 inches by 4 and on the right it's 2 by 2. So both of them could be used on a card, just depends what you want to do with it. But here's a quick look at the Seaside Basics collection. This is the 6 by 6 papers. There are 3 sets of 6 double-sided papers in each package. So here's what they have. All the colors coordinate. They're all ocean themed. They're just really pretty papers for seaside cards, I would say. Now this one is the Seaside Memories collection. Now you can see you could cut out those stamps on the 12 by 12 papers. You could on the smaller ones as well. It just depends on what you want to do. But here's a quick look. This one has some nice scene papers that you could easily make a card with just by adding an element or a sentiment even. So that's this set. And the 12 by 12s obviously are exactly the same, but just bigger. Now this is the quick cards collection. It's a little bit different. They're in this pack. There's an information sheet with some very simple quick cards that you can make. So just some nice examples of cards that you could easily sit down and do in an hour, I'm sure. And then there are the embossed die cuts. So there's 2 sheets of the animals and images and 2 sheets with these real focal points, these circles, and sentiments, which I find really useful to use as well. So that's the quick cards. Oh, and these are the papers. Now these are 6 by 8 papers, and they're already almost matted, I would say. And it would be so quick to just put one of those circle elements on and be done. You can fold them in half and make a smaller card, put a little white piece of cardstock inside for a sentiment, whatever you want to do, but really interesting having these extra little fun size papers in this collection, I would say. So those are the quick cards. Now these are the embossed die cuts, so they are perforated. You can either cut them out with your scissors, or I tend to push them out and then trim off the little tags. I'm kind of lazy about that. But the images, oh my gosh, they are beautiful images. They're just all these lovely sea animals that just look so adorable in these images. This is the cut-aparts set. Now, I really think the cut-aparts are a great buy. Again, there's 3 sets of 6 different pieces of cardstock. They're not perforated, but what I do is the night before I take my glossy accents and I go over one set and I just put glossy accents on and let it dry overnight. The next day I get my cup of coffee and put some music on, and I just cut out my images. And so I get one full set of images. Probably takes an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour to cut all that out. But then I have the images, and these are from the cut-aparts, these images here. So this is a card I am making today. It is a 5 by 7 box card. I hadn't made this one before. So I'm kind of making it as I go along in this video, and I've made a few little mistakes. So I've got a template for you down below, a PDF template that you can go to get the proper measurements if I don't explain it well enough for you in the video. But that's what we're going to make today. Lots of fun. So I started with some scrap cardstock to make the box card itself. And I've got a whole bunch of different distress mica spray stains, and I'm just going to cover those piece of scrap cardstock there with all different shades of blues and greens, and I'm just spraying it on until I've got it pretty much covered. And then I took once they dried, I've taken the patterned wave stencil and some Dazzle paste from Horton that I'm just randomly putting on. It really coordinated. It was almost camouflaged in, but it gave a lot of nice texture to the sides of my card and to the front. So you can see I'm just randomly putting that on. And once it dried, there was just a bit of texture, sort of wave shapes on the front and sides I thought were kind of fun. Now I've trimmed those down. I needed 2 pieces of 3 by 3 inch cardstock for the 2 sides. And I'm going to score these in at a 1/2 inch from the left-hand edge, so 1/2 inch, and again at 2.5. So that gives me 2 1/2 inch flaps, and I will do that with both of the 2 3 by 3 pieces of cardstock. And they're both going to fold down into mountain folds, and I just burnished everything. Now on the front, I took one of the stitched rectangles and I've cut this out, a center opening out. Now just ignore those 2 flaps on either side of that front piece. I didn't need those. You just need a piece that's 3 inches tall by 5 inches wide. And so I am just centering that rectangle in the middle of that section there and cutting it out. And I saved this piece because you can use that for something else. Now for the back, I've cut a piece of 5 by 5 cardstock and a piece of 5 by 5 pattern paper from the quick cards. I just thought that was a really pretty backdrop to the ocean. I'm going to attach the sides first though, so I'm putting a whole lot of glue on the side. Just because of that texture paste, you really need to stick this down really quite well. So I'm really pressing that in place, making sure the bottom edge lines up and the side edges are lined up. And I went over all this with my bone folder just to really burnish that and press it down really well. And now I'm doing exactly the same on the other side, lining up the bottom edge and those right-hand sides. And that one kind of popped off, but you'll see here. So the bottom edge is lined up, and then I can make sure I've got the 2 side edges lined up here. And really press that down firmly. And again, I use my bone folder on that on the inside, just because of that texture paste, you really need it. Now I can put this pattern paper in, but before I do, I'm just making sure that both sides will come up, that I haven't cut that paper too wide at all. So I would check that because it's easier to do that now and fix that than to do it later. Now I had more of this pattern paper and I thought, well, that would be perfect for the insides because you do see the inside of that when you angle the box sideways. So I've just cut pieces that fit inside. And here I'm gluing this down, but I'm checking to make sure I can fold it at the side seam. And again, at that top tab. Now when I did this one, my pattern paper was a little bit too long. So what I ended up doing is I just fold the tab back on itself, and then you can see where you need to trim off that pattern paper. So I've just cut that off. So it's just a sliver, but sometimes, you know, when you're measuring, it just happens that way. So now the tab will fold over, and that's going to be the front of the card. Now I flip that over upside down, and I'm attaching that right side to the front, and I'm just really gluing those down and pressing again, and then I flipped it over and used my bone folder on it. And so now I can add glue to that right hand side. I'm going to fold this down where that left side meets the back. I'm keeping that tab folded over with the glue side up, and I can just press my front right onto it and really make sure I'm picking that up well. And I just took my corner chomper and rounded the corners at the back. Now that is a 5 by 7 envelope, so you can see it will fit into that envelope. But what you have to be careful of is when you're adding images that you don't extend past that, because then it won't fit into the envelope. So even though I would have loved to have put that whale way up there, I had to make sure I kept everything within the size of the back. Now, I think I'm just showing you here, I had a scrap of acetate. You could, if you wanted, put acetate in behind that opening to make it look all nice and shiny and ocean-like. I chose not to. I've got this under the sea border die that I thought I would use at the front. So I've just die cut it. I cut it down to be 5 inches wide in the center, and I've got 2 1/4-inch tabs on either end. I ended up taking that coral on the left side and adding it to the front of that. Now here I've got a couple of scraps of acetate. They're both 5.5 inches wide. This piece is 2.5 inches tall because it will go to the back of my box card. And then this smaller one, I thought I would put more in the front. So that one is only 2 inches tall. but both of these I'm going to score at 1/4 of an inch in from each end. So I just find that easier to do that on the right hand at the 5 1/4 inch mark, and I just rotate it around to get both ends done. And I will do that with both of those 2 pieces of acetate. So I've got tabs on all of them, and all of these tabs just get folded down into a mountain folds. I sort of pinch it and then I burnish them. And then I'm going to add some red line tape to all 4 of those tabs. And this one, now you could cut that top into a wave shape, but I'm going to remove the release paper on one side of this. Now, I did do this the hard way just because I hadn't quite figured out this card. Normally I would put these tabs on before I add or close up the front, but if you've done it my way, what you want to do now is center that tab a little bit away from the back of the card onto the side there, and I'm making sure that the right hand edge is all nicely lined up with each other before I really press this down. And then I'm going to burnish that red line tape again, and I can remove the release paper on the other end. Now I'm holding this tab open. It's not closed, I'm holding it open, and I'm going to flatten down the bottom part of that with my left hand. I'm trying to keep that right side off that sticky red line tape up at the top until I have it in place. So I'm making sure that the side of that acetate is lined up with the right side or the bottom of the box, and then with everything flat, I can press it all down and pick up that tape where it needs to be picked up. Now this second piece, I'm going to move it more to the middle of that side, just so there's a gap between the front or the back acetate piece and this middle one. Again though, I'm lining up the sides first before I even press this down. So I was just making sure that it was lined up with the side at the bottom of the box and pressing this down, and then I can remove the other release paper, make sure that tab is left open, and I'm going to keep that top side piece off it so it doesn't stick in the wrong place, but press the bottom of that box down flat. So I'm lining it up, that acetate, with that right hand edge, keeping the bottom of the box down flat with my left hand, and then I'll pick it up where it needs to be picked up. And then I realized that my side had popped open a bit. And exactly the same now with this coral layer. I've got those 1/4 inch tabs. I've taken the release paper off the bottom one, and I'm going to put it a little bit closer to the front of the box. And I'll just line up the bottom or the right side edges at this point. Line those side edges up before I press it down. And then I can take the release paper off the other end, keep that tab flat or open, and then press the whole thing, keep it lined up along the right hand side, press the box down flat at the bottom, and then press this one down onto that red line tape. And so now we've got 3 layers where you can add images in this little box. So really quite fun. And it's definitely see-through with the acetate, so I quite like that. It's not pattern paper or anything. I've got some little acetate strips. Now I've cut this one into a point because I'm going to put the fish on it. So I've just made that red line tape go at the very top where it's going to attach to the fish. You can see I've already added a few seashells, and that sentiment came from the Quick Cards collection. And I'm just positioning my fish here and kind of seeing where I need to trim down this acetate. So I could see it was about there. And then I'll put some red line tape on the front of that. And then I can attach this little guy to the back of that coral layer. And so he's sort of swimming amongst the coral. And now this one, the turtle, I didn't need to put him up on acetate because he can attach to that second layer. So I've just put the red line tape directly on his flippers, and I'm attaching him to that middle layer of acetate. And then the octopus, same thing, but it can go to the very back. So it's on the back layer of acetate. So I just went through adding images, some on acetate strips and some just directly to the acetate. And that was my finished card. I've added these images to the back, and there's lots of room there to write your sentiments. And it all folds down nice and flat to go into a box, into an envelope. So I hope that's given you some inspiration, everybody. I'm going to still be playing with this collection for my next video, I'm pretty sure. I've got lots of ideas for it, so I just wanted to get this video out. So I hope I've helped you out with that today. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.